A drone strike sparked a fire on the perimeter of the UAE's Baraka nuclear power plant.
The UK's former Health Secretary Wes Streeting announced that he will run to replace Keir Starmer and called for the UK to rejoin the EU.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and President Sergio Mattarella visited people in Modena injured by a driver that drove into a crowd. A drone strike sparked a fire on the perimeter of the UAE's Baraka nuclear power plant on Sunday, further straining an already fragile ceasefire linked to the Iran conflict. The Abu Dhabi media office said an electrical generator caught fire outside the main facility. The statement added there was no radiation leak or injuries reported and confirmed the plant continued operating normally. The International Atomic Energy Agency added that one reactor briefly relied on emergency diesel generators. No group immediately claimed responsibility, and the UAE did not publicly blame anyone. However, tensions with Iran have escalated sharply in recent weeks following repeated drone and missile attacks linked to the wider regional conflict. The incident comes as ceasefire talks between Iran and the United States remain stalled, raising fears the conflict could reignite.
The UK's former Health Secretary Wes Streeting announced that he will run to replace Keir Starmer as Labour leader and Prime Minister. Streeting labelled the UK's decision to leave the European Union as a, quote, catastrophic mistake and said it should look to rejoin. Starmer is facing growing pressure to step down, particularly after the Labour Party suffered heavy losses in local elections last week.
If you think you're good enough to do the top job, if you think you've got the right ideas for the country, you should be prepared to put them forward, test them against other competitors and win an election. And that was the choice.
The UK voted to leave the bloc in 2016 following a divisive referendum campaign led by former Conservative Prime Minister Boris Johnson alongside support from current Reform leader Nigel Farage. The decision has been back under the spotlight in recent months as the UK has looked to move closer to Europe amid uncertainty with its relationship with US President Donald Trump. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and President Sergio Mattarella arrived in Modena on Sunday to meet the people injured by a driver that drove into a crowd in the centre of the city. 8 people were injured, 4 of them critically. The 31-year-old perpetrator sped down the street at 100 kilometers per hour before directing his vehicle at pedestrians. The car then crashed into a window of a clothing shop, pinning a woman who had to have both of her legs amputated. After crashing into the window, the man emerged wielding a knife and tried to flee. Several bystanders tackled him to the ground and disarmed him until police arrived at the scene. The man has been accused of attempt at mass murder and aggravated assault involving the use of a weapon, but not with terrorism. According to the mayor of Modena, the 31-year-old was under treatment for schizophrenia between 2022 and 2024. In an interview, his parents also confirmed he had been under the care of mental health services at that time.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Sweden on Sunday, where he met with his Swedish counterpart Ulf Kristersson, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, as well as European and Indian business leaders. Von der Leyen reiterated the commitment to the EU-India trade agreement that the two sides inked in New Delhi in January, calling it the start of a dynamic new era.
Our next step must be to deliver an investment agreement. And this is the missing piece of the puzzle in our reinforced economic cooperation, especially in a world where supply chains are being reshaped and economic security challenges us as never before. Deepening our investment ties will help us to de-risk and to diversify. Basically, one can say the trade agreement opened the door. An investment agreement walks us through this door.
Next, Modi will move on to Oslo for the 3rd Indian-Nordic Summit, and his tour will finish up in Italy on the 20th of May with a visit to Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni.